how we should be as a diaspora. You see other ethnic groups that come to the United States, they basically stick together. They pool their money together. They create their own group economics. They're able to build their communities, build businesses together.
What's going on, everybody? Here for another Maximum Impact Travel Recap Experience, and I'm talking to Mr. Elliot J. Jordan. You see that one coming. I'm a little partial to the name J. Man, I'm glad to have you on the tour because another brother having an experience, and when I say brother, I mean another brother who's born in America and coming to the continent. I think it's a wonderful thing. So is this your first time here?
First time here.
On the continent?
On the continent.
So you're a first timer?
Yes, sir.
Why did you decide to come to Ghana in particular?
Okay, so this goes back several years. A couple of family reunions ago on my dad's side, a couple of my cousins announced that they had did the ancestral DNA and came back with some results. I decided to do it myself and got my results, and Nigeria was at the top of the list.
Okay, so you got some of that inner Nigerian.
Got the inner Nigerian in me too.
All right.
And then there was Benin, Togo, 10% is Ghana, and Cameroon's on there, Mali's on there, South Africa. And then it goes up into the UK, Scandinavia, Finland.
Oh, you got the Scandinavian thing happening?
Yeah. So we know where the integration happened. And so right then and there, I knew I needed to make a plan to start visiting these countries. You know, to start doing some more my family research and everything. As far as my mother's side, it's probably mixed in with the same countries too. And I recently, probably maybe 2 months ago, and those results should be coming back shortly, but I did the African ancestry.
Oh, you did African ancestry as well?
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience here. You made it here, you got your information, you gathered it, you decided to come to Ghana. So what was your experience like?
This is the realest experience of my life, and I'm looking at the camera to say this is the realest experience of my life. This is not a bucket list, this is a right now list, and it's going to be a comeback list too. So
wow. I mean, and that means a lot because I know our story, many of our stories in America. Now, you're from what part of America?
Houston, Texas.
Okay, so you're from H-Town.
Yeah.
And have you, like growing up, did you grow up the typical black man life, or how did you, and when I say that, meaning, you know, just how we grew up as far as people assuming certain things about us that weren't necessarily true, some of them were, but just kind of like that life in America, many black men
Yeah, it was
experience.
a mixture of some of the typical black man experience. Growing up, got the chance to live both in the country and in the city. Most of my life was in Houston. Lived a lot in Missouri City, which is 5 minutes to the southwest of Houston, and that was back then was considered in the country. Right across the train tracks. When you cross the train tracks, you're basically in Houston, pretty much.
But you cross the tracks, though.
I cross the tracks. So right now, I'm living in another small town called Sugar Land. There's a lot of history about that.
Sugar Land, okay.
Sugar Land, Texas.
Yeah, I think I know some people who live in Sugar Land.
Imperial Sugar Mill is there.
Okay.
There's a lot of history behind that too. So watch yourself when you're buying Imperial sugar.
Oh, watch yourself.
Yeah, watch yourself.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that goes back to when the beginning of Texas started, basically.
All right.
There's a story about the Sugar Land 95.
Okay.
They were 95 children, no older than 14, 15 years old, and this was after the Civil War when they started instituting black code laws, pretty much.
Okay.
Basically throwing us in jail for minuscule
For nothing.
offenses,
They're the same craziness.
talking loud or
Loitering.
looking at a white person the wrong way that didn't like you, you go into prison. So as a result of that, and this was also their glorified way of continuing slavery after the Civil War.
You mentioning that, I think, is important because I've had conversations here in Ghana in particular, where a lot of people didn't understand or don't understand why many African Americans, so-called African Americans, have this edge towards colonization
Right.
and towards slavery. And to help you understand the context a little bit better is to understand how many of our ancestors in America were mistreated and how that trickled down to us.
Yeah.
You know, because I've heard people, why don't y'all just get over colonization and all of that, without really understanding that the same thing happened and happens here to this day.
Exactly.
But it's like it's this disconnect from it. You know, it's almost like that particular person has been abused to the point where they have this Stockholm syndrome
Exactly.
of embracing the very people that are exploiting them. Where
Right.
for many of us, we've had that problem too. But we're now saying, wait a minute. You know, you get to a certain point in life, you're like, I'm tired of you playing games with my mind and all of that. So
Yeah, so Sugar Land, where I live now, basically goes back to the 1840s, like right before Texas became a state, 1845. And there were several sugarcane plantations, which is how Sugar Land got its name, basically.
So that's where it came from.
Yeah. And then Imperial Sugar basically built this business off of slavery / the convict prison program, convict prison lease program, after the Civil War and things like that. And it was run by a former Confederate colonel.
And we don't know this, and this is why I think bridging the gap is so important, because many of us don't know how all of that, you know, how
Right.
basically the effects of more than 500 years of slavery in the Americas impacts us to this day, because people are still profiting from it.
Exactly.
So somebody said, oh, just get over it. It was like, well,
Still businesses that profited back then that are still in business now.
right, still profiting off of that labor and still charging us. Still, and granted, you can't go back and change what happened.
Right.
But when you're aware of it, you're aware of the tactics. And I think that's the thing. The tactics haven't changed.
Exactly.
The mind games haven't changed. The trickery. You know, and it's most disheartening when I hear it come out of people's mouths who are being tricked. You know, it's kind of like, ugh. So that's why I'm glad that you made it over here. So tell me some things that stuck out to you from this trip. What will resonate with you, and why do you think other brothers and sisters should come?
So from the point I stepped off the plane, and this is kind of speaking to the COVID situation. I had already knew what the numbers were here before I got here, and so getting off the plane, I kind of knew my people why it wasn't as bad as it is in the United States.
What do you think that is?
It's because not only the climate, but the resources that people have access to, pretty much. And the narrative is different.
Okay.
In the United States, it's all about making money off of a drug. Over here, not so much. We can go to the cocoa forest
And go find some cocoa root and some
find something
some
to make
tiger nut.
ourselves feel better and breathe better, so we can wake up the next morning and thank God for breath in our body. Whereas in the United States, we need a pill, basically,
But
or
folks,
a vaccine.
I'm gonna tell you, folks don't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear that.
No, they don't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. You
They don't
want
want.
to know the truth.
They don't want to
Don't
believe.
listen.
They don't want to believe though that you can, do something you can have a strong immune system that can fight off, because that's really what this stuff is supposed to do.
Exactly.
Enhance your immune system. So if your immune system is already strong, or there's something natural to be able to, so it does call into question some things. It makes you wonder. I mean, it's.
Yeah, and even before getting here, listening to the news, they were talking about how bad it was over here with the virus and everything, and how they needed to ship vaccines over here. But I go and look up the numbers. United States is number one.
Yeah, but somebody said, no, you can't believe the numbers in
I
Ghana.
go scroll down. It takes a minute to scroll down before you even get to the first African country. And that one was, I believe, was South Africa.
I would say South Africa. South
Yeah.
Africa, Egypt. So
Well,
one
Egypt, one of those.
Yeah, one or two.
Then I scroll a little further down, almost to number 100 is Ghana, and they're less than 2,000 deaths.
Yeah, it's just a little over 1,000,
Yeah.
right?
There's a reason why they're less than 2,000 deaths.
Yeah, because I tell people look at the deaths,
Mm-hmm.
and then so well you can't believe those numbers. So then I shouldn't believe the American numbers if that's the, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I don't believe these numbers, then I shouldn't believe the American numbers. Then
Right,
If
right.
it's so
Right.
so you saw that, and then you had your experience.
Yeah, and then I go to talk to people and, had a conversation with Morris, and, he said that a lot of people don't believe that the virus exists, and we're nearly 2 years into the pandemic now.
Oh, they don't believe it.
They don't believe it's real.
Oh
basically.
wow, okay.
They don't believe it's real.
Now, that's another level. Okay, all
But
right.
that's speaking to the difference in the narrative over here
Yes,
versus the
I
United
was gonna say,
States.
because I know some people who.
You know,
Yeah. I know
the
some-
United States, all we hear is, it's my body, it's my right. But that same belief is the reason why it's so bad in our country.
Understood. In coming here, what will you take away from this trip?
I would take deep spiritual knowledge. This is not about, this has nothing to do with critical race theory. This is just about telling the truth. This is not about making anybody feel bad or making people feel guilty because maybe their family was involved in all of the corruption over the past 500-600 years. This is just about telling the truth.
Why do you think people don't want to tell the truth?
Probably because they're not ready to hear it.
Because when you were just talking about it, it made me think about how.
They think they can erase history. You cannot erase history.
But they want us to know about George Washington.
They want us to know about George Washington and Christopher Columbus.
And all of their conquests
and all
of
of
what it
these
was, the
European
Revolutionary War.
explorers. They want to say all these people discovered this place and that place, but we were already there before they got there.
Yeah. And on top of that, they want us to know about their conquests. They want us to know about their narratives. But
They'll
now when
force all of that down our throat, but
Right.
when it comes to our history, they don't want to hear it.
and they get offended.
They get offended.
Get offended. I mean, because now what's interesting, I see a lot of people of European descent go to the dungeons and learn.
Yeah.
I believe everyone should go to those dungeons. This is not just a black people's thing to go to the dungeons. I believe because white people have been just as miseducated
Exactly.
as us. When I talk to some of my white friends, they're like, "Well, I don't understand why." I said, "Oh, that's why you need to go and learn. Because if you go and learn, just like you want us to learn about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and the Queen of England and King Louis and all of them,
Yeah.
come on over here and learn about Queen Nzinga and learn about some of these folks and the history." Because that's another way of really like white supremacy. They say, well, I don't
Exactly.
want to learn your history. You learn my history. We're going to grade your intelligence based upon
Right.
our history.
Right. They're
But
not
I don't give a
realizing
rat's tail about
right.
your history, right?
They're not realizing that they're repeating history over and over again by doing the same thing
Yeah,
over and over again.
yeah,
What those people did hundreds of years ago are the same thing people are doing right now.
same things. But people can't see it because they're
Can't see it.
envisioning slavery in the context of
Right.
that time
Right.
without understanding slavery in the context of
Want
today.
to separate the version of racism back then versus the version of racism we see right now. It's basically the same attitude.
Yeah, there are some people say, well, it's not as bad as it used to be. Well, it depends on where you are.
Right.
It depends on where you are in the country or in the world that someone can say that. Because in some parts of the world, whether it be in
Yeah.
America or whatever, racism is very blatant.
I see the attitude before I see the actions, basically.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have the same mindset and attitude as what they had 500 years ago, then you're gonna repeat the same thing, pretty much.
Right, it might not be with whips and chains, but
It might not be
with
whips and
laws
chains,
policies.
might not be hanging from a tree or nothing like that, but we're still getting killed by cops in the streets. We're still getting redlined and run off of land that we bought years ago. We're still struggling for compensation for communities that we built up after the Civil War. You know,
And still
people don't want
building.
to hear about those communities where, you know, we were taught to bring ourselves up by our bootstraps. That's what we did after the Civil War with Tulsa and Rosewood and a couple of communities in Texas and communities where you're from in the Carolinas.
And then they burn them down.
They burn them down, but
They'll pull yourself up by your bootstrap.
they don't want to talk about reparations, though. They don't want to talk about paying us for what we did and invested in.
But you know what the French will do? The French will charge the Haitians and the countries that they impose themselves upon
Right.
reparations. They will charge these countries, these people, reparations in order to gain their independence and their freedom.
That's another thing I noticed. The currencies are less in value over here on the continent, but the richer countries are still charging, loan amounts to be paid back for the work and infrastructure that
For
they
their
put
freedom.
over here and stuff like that. Like, how are they going to ever be able to pay the bill off when the value of the currency is lower than theirs? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's not designed for them to pay it off.
Right, it's not designed, but
But it speaks to the
that's-
system.
That's the stupidity of it, basically.
Yeah, I like that word that you use. But the thing is that the reason why it's so effective is because there are enough of us who believe in it. Because if enough of us said, no, we gotta, we don't have the guns and the bombs, but you still need us to work. You
Right.
still need us to spend money. And so if we stopped and said, you know what? I'll go to work, but I don't have to spend money like that. I don't have to.
Right.
I can pull back here. I can do this. But there's so many of us who are so warped in our thinking that we embrace and don't even. And then we're also not educated about these systems too. You know,
Yeah.
and we don't understand how it trickles down to us, even today in 2021. And so we're thinking, oh, it's old. It's in the past. It's get over it. Get a life. Go back. Then they'll tell us to go back to Africa
Exactly.
and all that type of foolishness.
Yeah.
It's like, guess what? Yep, I was born in America. I'm gonna lay claim to it because that's my birthright, if you will. But also being able to claim Africa too. Let me ask you this about why you think people should travel here.
They should travel to expand their knowledge, to grow their spirit, to be educated not only for themselves but for their families and generations to come. In our country, they don't want to be taught this kind of information in school, or they're trying to keep it from being taught in school, and they label it critical race theory. You see, but it's this basic truth, this basic knowledge.
So just tell the truth.
Just tell the truth.
And when you come here, you can see the truth for yourself.
Yeah.
With your own eyes.
Yeah,
because-
you will see the truth. Definitely, you will see the truth.
What do you say to black men like us? Because we're the ones who have probably endured on many levels some of the most discriminatory practices. And this is not to exclude anyone else, but just talking about in the context of black men. And it's not everybody. Some black men have not gone through this. Some have lived their own life and been not gone through any discriminations. To the extent of what we're talking about. What do you say to us? Because that's I don't see a lot of us
Right.
traveling here. We'll
Right.
go to Dubai, we'll go down to Cartagena in Colombia. Nothing wrong with Cartagena, I'm going to Cartagena. But we're looking for other things, and the last place we're thinking about is, in particular, West Africa.
Right. I would say, don't be afraid of helping another brother that looks like us, because we all in the same situation, regardless of what country you go to. Also, unlearn. So this goes back to this Spike Lee movie. It's called Drop Squad,
Okay.
and it's about a team of people that got together, both men and women, and they would investigate different black people in society, whether they were in corporate America or sports or entertainment, investigate, how these people carry themselves, what their attitude is. Then they'll take them, they'll kidnap them off the street, basically.
Oh, wow.
They'll put them in this, and take them to this dark room and basically teach them that their attitude is not right for the betterment of the whole diaspora, basically.
That's how it's
You
colonization
get back
foolishness.
right,
Yeah.
right. So basically teaching them to unlearn what you've been lied about for so long and conduct yourself as you would do to help and uplift your community, pretty much. It was a funny movie, but
But it had that
it
underlying
had that message
powerful
behind
theme.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
And so what I would say is unlearn what you've been taught and relearn and educate yourself according to, how we should be as a diaspora. We see other ethnic groups that come to the United States, they basically stick together. They pool their money together. They create their own group economics. They're able to build their communities, build businesses together. If it's not the Asian community or Chinese or Japanese, it's the Arab community. Houston is a very diverse city, and it's not hard to see what people from different ethnic groups are doing. The Indian people and people from Arab descent that come into the black communities, what are they doing?
Putting up the fish and chicken
They
joints.
got corner stores.
Yeah, and the whole nine. Yeah.
Yeah, they got corner stores, restaurants, everything.
And we support it though. That's the part.
And we still go in the store and support and buy their stuff. What are the Asian people doing? They got nail shops on every corner.
Yeah.
We got our women going into their businesses, getting our nails done. And
Happily doing it though.
Happily
and
doing
with
it.
an attitude. If
With
you
an
say something
attitude.
to them, I like this. I like it. I like it like this. I mean, I'm telling you, people, they go and then they complain
They
later.
complain when they don't do it the way we like it done.
Or they complain about the not having the opportunities. But it's like if you give the opportunities to people who are going to take it outside of your community.
Right. Yeah. So any one of us have a similar business or a business, then it's so much more important to support that business because it's only going to help our community in the long run. So a lot of people complain about black-owned businesses because either we don't have enough knowledge to be able to improve on our business or we don't help each other in the same business industry. I have my own real estate investment business that, trying to get off the ground, and I'm hoping to start that over here on the continent before I go back to my country because the United States will nickel and dime you in the real estate industry, and after learning what you've gone through, it's a no-brainer. I can start over here first before I go back to the United States to, continue the business. And I think it'd be a lot easier that way. Because then I'll have some revenue
To be able to do some other things.
Yeah, to be able to do some other things. And I have a nephew that's, studying to get his real estate license also. So I'm kind of grooming him along the way at the same time.
And you'll be able to set him up in a way by way of your example.
Exactly.
Well, the one thing I want to thank you for is coming on this trip. And I want to thank you for sharing your story and sharing your thoughts because it's always good to have brothers on these trips sharing because it's like if we don't, it's like we got to hear each other.
Exactly.
And our own language and it's like we get it. It's like we kind of know it's a code we know. Even the most detached brother can recognize certain things.
Yeah, we're all in business. It doesn't hurt to share your ideas so that the other person in business can improve upon it and share best practices too.
Yeah.
By degree, I'm a process engineer consultant.
Okay.
So I look at the process before I look at the people.
So you're a systems person. In essence,
You can
if
say
look
that.
at the process.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say I look at the process because the problem is going to be in the process before you look at the people. The people are really not. That's in everything, regardless of what industry it is.
So you dropping gems. So somebody got a business gem just now. Just
even
like,
the problems that's going on in the country with immigration and infrastructure and voting rights, it's the process. It's not the people. That's all it is.
And so now, as you all hear it, you hear it coming from Elliot directly, talking about the process. In the process, by way he came here, he saw, and what I want you all to do is to make sure that you come and see for yourself, because when you see for yourself, someone can't take that experience from you. No one can take this experience away from Elliot, just like they won't be able to take the experience away from you. So be sure to check out MaximumImpactTravel.com to make your experience happen for my brothers, for my sisters, even wherever you are. If you don't even have to be a part of the African diaspora, come and learn and see. And what that does for you is it puts you in a position of being able to re-educate, help people unlearn what they mislearned, and now show them a different pathway so that we can begin to start chipping away at this wall of misinformation. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, take care, be safe.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.
The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And Darren and Destiny are twin brother and sister, and you go on their adventures throughout the African diaspora, meaning so African diaspora destinations, primarily focused in Africa, but we go to South America, we're going to go to the Caribbean. Their first book is going to take you to Ghana, and then we're going to go on a safari, and from there we're going to go to Ethiopia, and then we go to Salvador, Brazil. And what the goal is to be able to inspire curiosity in the continent of Africa, in our children from a very young age, and to really tell a more accurate story. Most of our children are exposed to negative images, late night infomercials about how bad things are, everybody's sick, everybody's poor, everyone's uneducated, but that's simply not true. So what Darren and Destiny and their family do is they go to different African destinations. They're learning about these different places. You're beginning to see positive images, but still telling the truth. I mean, that's the important thing, to tell the truth about some of the things that have occurred, but it's all done on a children's level so they begin to understand it. And it begins to pique their curiosity, they begin to learn more, and hopefully one day they will want to explore and visit the continent of Africa and its many countries. There's just so much that Darren and Destiny are able to do, and as they're doing it, it's like they begin to open the minds of a new generation, and they don't get bombarded and indoctrinated with negativity. They're actually able to see positivity and inspiring images and messages about the African diaspora, as well as those who are still indigenous to the continent of Africa, and they begin to learn more and just see things differently. So I'm excited about introducing the Adventures of Darren and Destiny.